The stock market dip is all Donald Trump's fault. It's all his fault. He ruined everything, and now everything's on the downside. I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for him the first time. I didn't vote for him the second time. It doesn't matter what my political beliefs were. I knew he was talking nonsense. He never knew what he was doing. He had no clue what was going on. He tanked the market, which is, a representative of what people think about the economy. So he made people think the economy was bad. Whether it is or isn't, it doesn't matter. The fact that he influenced the expectation of what people had for the economy, he ruined it, and therefore we will have higher prices because of what Trump did when he brought in tariffs. We had tariffs, and now he talks about wanting to bring manufacturing back. He's talking about all this stuff, and really this is just putting dollars in his pocket. That is just clickbait. I totally lied to you. None of that's true. None of that is true whatsoever. I will tell you what's actually going on. Hopefully I get views just from that first minute just ranting about nonsense. Donald Trump has nothing to do with the economy. And I say nothing. He's affecting it, but it's not because of what he's doing. It's about what he's saying. This right here that I have, I guess technically behind me, it's on my phone. But this is the Federal Reserve speech called Monetary Policy Strategies for a Low Neutral Interest Rate World. What we have here, phone's dying. What we have here is John C. Williams. He is talking about how we are no longer able to use interest rates in order to influence the economy because the neutral interest rate is too low. If you are wondering about what the neutral interest rate is, dude, I explain it in almost every video, but I'll do it again. The neutral interest rate is the hypothetical interest rate in which if the real interest rate was set to that neutral interest rate, that means the economy would neither be stimulative nor restrictive, right? So if you have the neutral interest rate and you have the real interest rate, the Fed funds rate, the Fed funds rate is the bank, the Federal Reserve is the bank that the government borrows from. It is neither federal nor does it have reserves, but they are the bank that sets interest rates, and after they set their interest rate, then the other banks follow. If you have the neutral interest rate here and the Fed funds rate, the real interest rate, the big bank, and that is also here, you have neither stimulation nor restriction in the economy. As they lower the interest rate below the neutral interest rate, that means it will have a stimulative effect. If you go the opposite way, that means it's going to have a restrictive effect. When the economy is too hot, you raise the interest rate in order to slow down the economy in order to combat inflation. You do the opposite when you need more inflation. You do the opposite, you lower it when you need stimulation, right? So if you assume bad times are coming, if you're the Federal Reserve and you think, wow, in a few months we're gonna have a bad time, let's soften that landing, let's lower interest rates now, and then when the bad times come, it'll be a little softer. That's the whole plan. Well, now they've reached the point where the neutral interest rate is too low. It's right up there. It's the top part. Today we face an altogether different set of problems stemming from a very low neutral interest rate. That is the short-term real interest rate consistent with the economy operating as its potential alongside low and stable inflation. The neutral interest rate is too low. If we are here, this is the neutral interest rate, and this is the Fed funds rate. If this is too low, that means that they cannot go lower in order to create stimulation in the economy. If the neutral interest rate is too low, they no longer have the tool of using the Fed funds rate to create stimulation in the economy. This is where Trump tariffs come in. Trump talks about tariffs, and you have a big effect on the economy. Markets dip. People get liquid. People start spending money now in order to fight the coming price hike. So if you spend money now, that means if you buy a product for $10 because later it will be $20, you technically saved $10. In reality, you really just spent $10, but the way they see it is that $10 saved from the future is saved. So you spend money now to fight the price hike in the future. That raises money velocity, that raises inflation. The talk about bringing tariffs, we are an importing nation, meaning we do not produce enough compared to the things that we import. Our export is much, 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 much smaller. It's much lesser than our export. Our export is lesser than our imports. My bad. By a lot. Like, we make some things, and we're probably one of the only countries that make that particular thing very well. Like war machines, when it comes to aircraft, when it comes to ships, tanks, we build that stuff. Those things are extremely expensive. So we can build that stuff. Even though our standard of living is so high and labor is so expensive, we can build those things because those things are expensive. Okay, this is where the Trump tariffs come in. When you talk about higher inflation in the future, you're going to have reactions happening right now. The Federal Reserve is using what they call forward guidance. Forward guidance is when the Federal Reserve uses their words in order to affect the economy, whether it's stimulative or restrictive. When Trump talks about tariffs, that is an increased inflation expectation. That means people will assume, they will guess, because of what Trump said, that in the future, prices will go up. That is here. Ironically, the problem, and I'm reading again, ironically, the problem we need to solve these days is the risk of inflation that is persistently too low rather than too high. During the 2008 financial crisis, they started printing money like crazy. Let's ramp it up, ramp it up, ramp it up. Years later, after that 2008 financial crisis, the Federal Reserve, I think it was Michelle Bowman, talked about how they did not create the inflation that was needed. They did not print enough money. This is counterintuitive to everything that there are people that think that they know when you print money, that's a bad situation. People that know what the Federal Reserve is, most people do not. If you know what the Federal Reserve is, you most likely do not like them. If it weren't for the Federal Reserve, you wouldn't have the nice stuff you have right now, because they just want to keep this system going. It doesn't matter if it's an immoral system. It doesn't matter if it's a usury-based system. The fact is, if you like your 2 cars and you like your cell phone and you like your house, you like your interest rate because you bought in 2018, that is because the Federal Reserve is doing what they can to keep the system going. It has nothing to do with population control. It's not like the big bad trying to get you. It's not that. It's not. They just want to keep the system going. They have their dual mandate. They want stable prices and they want low unemployment. Neither of those are defined. There's no definition for what low unemployment is. There's no definition for what stable prices are. They just want to keep the system going as long as they can. They're fighting a deflationary scenario. That's where people freak out. Everybody's just going to comment, it's all inflation. Why is things so expensive? All this, and I dare you to comment, and I will tell you why, and you still won't listen. Man, when Bill Gates talks about population reduction, I'm like, you know what? Go for it, dude, because people just won't see. Read the Federal Reserve speeches. They are on federalreserve.gov. Just Google them. Look at this specific speech that I have behind me. It is monetary policy for a low. You know what? I'll put it up. There's a speech, Monetary Policy Strategies for a Low Neutral Interest Rate World by John C. Williams, the president and CEO of the Federal Open Market Committee. He is talking specifically about how they're going to use monetary policy going forward from this point in November 30th, 2018. They talk about how, like, there are too many old people. Like, one of the things that are weighing down the economy is the fact that there's so many old people. They live so long and they require other people's production in order to keep themselves sustained, right? They don't work, they don't produce anything, but they take from the system. That's one of the things they mentioned. They mentioned a couple other reasons, whatever. Trump talking about tariffs has nothing to do with his plan. He doesn't have a plan. He's just doing what the Federal Reserve said. The Federal Reserve said, we need higher inflation expectation. What does he do? Talk about tariffs. That it makes everybody think that prices are going to go crazy high in the future, and it does. People act that way. People will react immediately.